African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of September 15, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted defeats on formations of 3 mechanized brigades, an airborne assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Stepnoye, Varachino, Grunovka, and Alekseevka in the Sumy region. On the Kharkiv direction, defeats were inflicted on units of a motorized infantry brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Volchansk and Zhovtneve in the Kharkiv region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 150 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 7 cars, and 3 artillery guns, including one of Western production. A radio-electronic warfare station, an ammunition depot, and 5 supply depots were destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group improved their tactical position. They inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of 2 mechanized and assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Yampol, Shandrigalovo, and Karpovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to more than 240 servicemen, a tank, 5 armored combat vehicles, 22 cars, and 2 artillery guns, including one of Western production. 9 radio-electronic warfare stations and 9 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the South Troop Group occupied more advantageous lines and positions. They inflicted defeats on formations of 4 mechanized, mountain assault, airmobile brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a marine brigade, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Stepnoye, Platonovka, Konstantinovka, Seversk, Alexandro-Kalinovo, and Artima in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 260 servicemen, 4 armored combat vehicles, 15 cars, and 4 artillery guns. 2 radio-electronic warfare stations, a counter-battery warfare station, and 2 supply depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group continued advancing into the depth of the enemy's defense. They inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of 3 mechanized, 2 airborne assault, and a Ranger Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine Brigade, a Territorial Defense Brigade, and a National Guard Brigade in the areas of the settlements Teretskoye, Artemovka, Dmitrov, Torskoye, Vladimirovka, Zolotoy Kolodez, Novo-Alexandrovka, and Krasnoarmeysk in the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of the Ukrainian armed formations amounted to up to 460 servicemen, 6 armored combat vehicles, 3 cars, and 2 field artillery guns. Units of the East Troop Group liberated the settlement of Alekseevka in the Zaporizhzhia region as a result of offensive actions. Damage inflicted on formations of 2 mechanized, assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Velikomikhailovka, Gavrilovka, Malomikhailovka, Novonikolivka in the Dnipropetrovsk region and Novoivanovka in the Zaporizhzhia region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 260 servicemen, 2 tanks, an armored combat vehicle, and 10 vehicles. 2 electronic warfare stations and an ammunition depot were destroyed. Units of the Dnieper Troop Group inflicted damage on personnel and equipment of a mechanized brigade, 2 coastal defense brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Stepnogorsk, Malayatokmachka in the Zaporizhzhia region, Belozerka, Antonovka in the Kherson region, and Nikopol in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Enemy losses amounted to up to 65 servicemen, 6 vehicles, and an artillery piece. 5 electronic warfare stations and 2 ammunition depots were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian armed forces troop groups inflicted damage on transport infrastructure used in the interests of the armed forces of Ukraine, storage and launch sites of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 149 areas. Air defense systems shot down 82 aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, destroyed 667 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 84,151 unmanned aerial vehicles, 628 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,116 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,591 multiple launch rocket systems, 29,590 field artillery and mortars, 41,811 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.